And welcome back, and thanks for staying with us here on Morning Live. Cyclone Idai has left at least 98 people dead and over 200 others either injured or missing, and this in Zimbabwe alone. And I was looking at some of the messages that have been coming through, and Quincy sends a tweet, and Quincy says, can we dedicate a show to raising funds and donations for millions of people that have been displaced in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, etc.? Please, these are our brothers and sisters, and let's make hashtag Cyclone Idai trend. And Durko has also appealed to South African citizens to donate what they can as far as they can to try and alleviate the plight that has befallen the people in these countries. And of course, as you heard in the news earlier, Gift of the Givers are also making their way to try and offer some aid and some assistance. Well, whilst we're talking about that, we're trying to get in touch with our correspondent in Zimbabwe, Ephert Musekiwa, just to get a sense of whether there are any new developments. But also, one of the questions that I have been playing with in my mind, at least around this, is why did it seem as though this took people by surprise? And I ask that in the wake of the fact that we actually ran the story that Cyclone Idai would be making landfall. But could it be that people perhaps underestimated the impact that it would have? Let's find out from our correspondent in Zimbabwe, Ephert Musekiwa. Ephert, good morning. Thanks so much for speaking to us once again. So I was asking the question, one that I've been toying with, about the preparedness of Zimbabwe and Zimbabwean citizens for Cyclone Idai, because it seems as though people were taken by surprise.
Well, I wouldn't say they were taken by surprise, because the government did issue a warning of the impending cyclone and some of the effects that were likely to be experienced once the cyclone had reached Zimbabwe. But people did not take heed to this warning. They were reluctant. They thought it was just one of those warnings by government. But indeed, government knew the cyclone was coming. They knew that there were going to be devastating effects. But it's the way that the people responded that really leaves a lot to be questioned.
And then, have there been any further developments overnight, Ephert? Any update on the death toll and those missing?
Yes, the death toll has reached 96. The number of the missing is still being compiled. But as of this morning, we got information that the army has managed to get to where most people were stranded. The place is called Skyline. It's in Chimanimani. We're actually heading there right now to see what efforts they are putting in place. But we do understand that they've managed to cross the barrier that was preventing them from reaching that area. So it's now accessible. They are saying that food aid and medical supplies have managed to get to the people that were on the other side.
Ephert, if you could perhaps just give us a sense of where Chimanimani is geographically, because in relation to Beira, for example, just give us a sense of the geography there.
Okay, Chimanimani is in the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe, and the eastern highlands is the region that borders Zimbabwe and Mozambique. It's mostly mountainous. Right now I'm in Mutare, which is the provincial capital. It is also a mountainous area. So this whole region, or Manicaland, is basically mountains that border Zimbabwe and Mozambique. They are on the eastern side of Harare, the capital. Then obviously they are, would say, west of Beira, which was hard hit by the cyclone.
I must say, I remember being in Mutare at one point, and I think standing on a hill somewhere, people were saying if you look across, you can actually see Beira.
From where I am, the border between Zimbabwe and Mozambique is just a few kilometers. People actually walk from Mutare, the town, to the Mozambican border. It's not very far. It's a walking distance. So the town itself is right on the border with Mozambique.
And we heard about massive destruction in Beira. Can you just give us a sense of the levels of destructions in Chimanimani?
Well, mostly the distractions have happened to the roads. What we have seen are roads and bridges that have completely been washed away, bridges that are basically non-existent as we speak. Most of the residential areas, there's been minimal damage, but the buildings have been damaged. Accessing to some of the areas, I think once we have managed to access, like I indicated this morning, that there is now access between Mutare and Skyline. So once we reach Skyline, we can then determine, or we can then report further on the extent of the damage that has happened in that area.
Well, we're currently experiencing stage 4 load shedding, or stage 2 that I'm currently seeing. Will determine what exactly it is shortly. But has there been any interruption to the electricity supply?
Yes, there has. Most of the areas, I remember trees fell down, electricity pylons also were damaged or fell down. So obviously there is no power in certain areas. There were some people that we spoke to yesterday who were saying that there is a mortuary between the area where it's inaccessible, and they were saying that the mortuary there had dead bodies, but the bodies had started decomposing because of lack of power. So really there is no power. Even if at the moment I leave Mutare town, access to networks, communication for telephones, for cell phones becomes very difficult because most of the base stations do not have power to remain on.
And with regard to disaster relief, has this triggered any such action from government?
Yes, indeed. Yesterday evening, we spoke to the Minister of Home Affairs, who indicated that the government had released $50 million for the efforts that are being taken in Manicaland, and we do understand that most of the money has been set aside for road rehabilitation. But they've also indicated that medical supplies, food aid, everything is being done. They're working with Red Cross, they're working with MSF, they are all working with others, NGOs, in order to help the people of Manicaland.
And is there any indication at this stage as to when things can be expected to return to normal?
Well, we do understand that the president is coming in to Manicaland today. I think after he has also assessed the situation, he will give a further update. But in terms of the weather, the rains have stopped. I think we haven't experienced any heavy rains, so that in itself is a good indication. Even the winds, right now the wind is calm. So in terms of the weather, I think things are back to normal. But the rescue efforts are still underway. Just to see how many people have been injured or how many people have lost their lives.
And just a final question, Ephert. We've been reporting about this from a distance, but what are the people in Zimbabwe saying about this, given the massive destruction, the death toll, the number of people missing? How are people actually conversing about this matter?
Well, it depends on who you speak to. Some people have politicized this whole disaster, but a lot of people are saying that this is humanitarian. This is the time that Zimbabweans need to come together. This disaster is not man-made, it's natural. And in such cases, there is no need to finger point. There is no need to, blame others for their failures. Right now, we need to have everyone working together and make sure that the lives that can be saved are saved, and make sure that those that have lost their lives are given a decent burial. So here in Mutare, the people that we spoke to, in as much as they are helpless to help, they do not have the capacity to help. They are saying, they wish they could do something so that their relatives or their colleagues find comfort in such a difficult time.
Well, Ephert Musekiwa, thanks so much for updating us on the situation after Cyclone Idai hit Mozambique, and of course also Zimbabwe, as he was giving us the update on situations there. Now, poverty